Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, the Barrie Colts still have their eyes on top spot in the Central Division as the OHL Playoffs draw near. We'll get an update. We talk with funny lady Vanessa Smythe, who's bringing her one-woman show to Talk is Free Theatre in April. And we hear often about the many organizations helping troubled youth, women and children in crisis and the homeless, not so much about those helping adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but it's happening in Barrie and Simcoe County through Camphill Foundation Canada. But first, we have a call for help from the Canadian Cancer Society, which is in urgent need of drivers for its Wheels of Hope service. These are the people who get cancer patients to and from their appointments when they have no other means of travel. Barrie 360's Will Konken gets the details from Mark Kahan, the Wheel of Hope recruitment coordinator.
So the Wheels of Hope has volunteers to transport people undergoing cancer treatments to the cancer center. There is a cancer. They do go to RVH in Barrie, but we do need people to drive to Toronto, and that's been our biggest challenge. A lot of people don't want to drive to Toronto and go downtown, but that is our biggest need, where we need volunteers.
Have you seen a drop in volunteers just like since the pandemic happened?
Yeah, we have. I mean, at the time when the pandemic started, everything was shut down. We had to suspend the program for a while. So we've lost a lot of volunteers. Some of them have just retired. So now that kind of everything is back up and running, the need is still there. So the demand for people getting transportation to their life-saving treatment is absolutely there. We just need more people that are like to drive, that are willing to help out someone else in their own community.
And you said that drivers are needed in the Barrie and all over Simcoe, Muskoka, but are you kind of mostly looking for the ones going down to Toronto?
We are mostly, yes. But, we appreciate anybody's help that's, willing to do even local rides in Barrie to the Royal Victoria Health Centre. But a lot of the demand is for people going to Toronto. And like you said, it's not just in Barrie, all over. Orillia, Collingwood, Angus, Alliston, Gravenhurst, all over the Simcoe, Muskoka area. So if you're listening to this or reading this, we can really use your help. It's all over the area, not just in Barrie.
And then what are the obligations for the driver? What do they need in order to apply? And then what are their obligations if they get accepted?
The requirements we're looking for is people that are available Monday to Friday, because that's when the cancer centers offer treatment. It's usually just Monday to Friday between 7:30 and 5 p.m. They are required to drive a 100% smoke-free, reliable vehicle with a decent driving record. We do require all of our volunteers to be double vaccinated for COVID-19. They are required to wear a mask, and the clients are required to wear a mask as well. We want to do everything we can to protect our clients and the volunteer. We do provide a mileage reimbursement as well. Pretty basic requirements, usually pretty standard for all nonprofit organizations. And it's an incredible experience. I started out as a volunteer driver, and I loved that I was helping out people in my own community and literally making a difference in someone's life. I was humbled by how most of the people are just so incredibly grateful for a stranger driving them. The appreciation is really felt. They don't have to drive or look around for expensive parking. They can relax and focus on themselves and getting well. And to that point, the magic really does happen in the drives there at home. And the Wheels of Hope doesn't just benefit the person going through cancer treatment; it benefits our volunteers as well. The conversations, the kindness, the compassion. It's all there. Our volunteers get to meet so many interesting people from all walks of life. And, sometimes people don't want to talk about cancer. They want to talk about the Leafs game, or they want to share stories about their own history and life experiences. It's a really very special times in the vehicle on the way there and on the way home.
And then where can people find more info about the program and to sign up as a volunteer?
Sure. So they can go directly and apply to be a volunteer at cancervolunteer.ca and just click on Wheels of Hope. If they just want some more information and find out a few more things about the program, they can email us at volunteer@cancer.ca or just give us a call. Our toll-free number, 1-888-939-3333.
Again, to volunteer, go to cancervolunteer.ca. She's part stand-up comic, part poet, and once in a while she sings. And she's coming to Talk is Free Theatre in April. Vanessa Smythe, telling stories about everyday life and some of the curveballs it can throw at you. A busy lady, our MJ was able to track her down, nail her down for a few minutes to talk about the show and her career.
How can you describe your show? I read here that it's a little bit of stand-up and a little bit of storytelling. So it's like a spoken word type thing. Like, what can people expect?
Yeah, I mean, the artists that I think are my influences, I sort of pull from a few different places. I'm a big fan of Mike Birbiglia and how he combines storytelling and stand-up. I also draw a lot from live musicians like Huxley Workman, who contextualizes music with these kind of magical moments of connecting with an audience. And Ali Wong is also a big inspiration of mine because I'm going to be doing this show when I'm a little over 8 months pregnant. So my show itself is kind of a blend of these different elements, but effectively I'm kind of converting the raw material of my life into these stories that hopefully reveal some of the magic that can be otherwise missed in the kind of chaotic pace of our lives. So it's playful and kind of whimsical, but I want to say ultimately it's a love letter to what stories can do for us.
Is this your first time working with TIFT?
No, TIFT I'd say is like probably the institution that has supported me the most as an actor, as a writer over the years. In September, they hosted the Giants in the Sky Festival, where artists took over different rooftops and public spaces, and we all gave like free sets and shows over a couple of weekends. I've been part of a few of their stage productions. And I shared an earlier version of this show in September and was really gratified when audiences seemed to really breathe it in. So it's just made me excited to share it for a few more evenings.
That just goes to show how great, like Talk is for Theatre is and other programs to really support artists within our province. And I mean, you've got a pretty good following, but even people that kind of getting their foot in the door in this industry too, it really helps them out.
Absolutely. I mean, when COVID first happened, I want to say that Talk is Free Theatre has continued to be the most innovative when it comes to the ways that they find support and nourishment for the artists that they believe in, but also like finding ways to connect artists with the communities that they're connected to. I find them very inspiring and very imaginative, and so it means a lot to me when they say when they give me an opportunity to kind of be part of that, because I really stand by other principles.
And for people who aren't really too familiar with some of your work, you've been in quite a few things. You've done a lot throughout your career. So I guess some of the highlights for you.
Sure. The one that I guess maybe I'm most associated with, and that's also really special to me, is being part of the show The Expanse. I'm like a huge sci-fi geek, so it was very much a dream come true to be part of seasons 5 and 6. And to get to dwell in space with some of my favorite fellow actors and writers, and it was pretty magical. When I first auditioned for that show, I was supposed to play a scientist who dies immediately, and then thankfully they saw something else in me, and so they invited me back, and I got to be part of the show for the last 2 years.
Oh, awesome!
And then I was excited to be part of the director, Jonathan Sobel. I'm a big sci-fi person, so I feel like those are always the projects I list first. But I just finished shooting a part in his film Little Mouse, which comes out next year. So, kind of all over the place, to be honest. But those are a couple of the more commonly affiliated ones with me. And,
you said that you're going to be 8 months pregnant when you do this show. Yeah. And I guess there's not really any reservations about that, though, because, you kind of play with it like you said Ali Wong did, right? And it really, I don't know, it's adorable and it really works.
Oh, I'm a big fan of hers, and I'm in no way comparing myself to her caliber, but I feel like something that really thrills me and gives me energy as a performer is when I can really be in the moment that I'm in. And so this feels like kind of a heightened state, because every day is like a new symptom or a new feeling or a new current in me that I'm navigating and negotiating. So I feel like in some ways it makes me feel more vulnerable, but at the same time I feel like when I do feel vulnerable, I I want to find kind of the playfulness there and the like commonality with people who are there. So I'm curious, and I hope very candidly that like there's some doctors and OBs and doulas like in the audience in case I go into labor really early. But like, accepting that is a possible fate, I just feel really excited to get to do this when my body's also unfolding that way.
As always, tickets for Talk is Free theater performances are free. You can latch onto them at tift.ca. What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie has to offer and more. We've covered a lot of ground since we started last summer. We've learned to make roasted red-hot chili peppers, Paradise by the Oven Light meatloaf, and Moody Blues berry muffins from the Sex, Drugs, and Pots and Pans cookbook, and how a Barrie police officer and an RVH mental health crisis worker are making a difference with their mobile crisis response team. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, the Barrie Colts are on a roll and helping adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities help themselves. Now this.
It's cool to care.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Cool to Care is brought to you by the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real all the way to sold. Reach out now at peggyhill.com.
It's cool to care with 107.5 Cool FM.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. The Barrie Colts have clinched a playoff spot, but still have an eye on top spot in the Central Division. Here again is our Will Konken with Colts broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Gene, what were some key takeaways from the week? That was a big win against a good team in the Knights.
Yeah, obviously London, one of the top teams in the Ontario Hockey League, having clinched the Midwest Division title for the fourth straight year. So obviously Barrie saw that as a pretty good test with one of the better teams coming in. And it was one of Barrie's more impressive performances on the season. They really kind of, took control early on with a 2-0 lead, and then after that had control throughout the game. But I think, from pretty much start to finish, was one of their better 60-minute efforts on the season against a very good London team. And, it was a big win. Unfortunately, we were hoping that London had to make a trek through North Bay on Sunday. But North Bay as well won 4-0 there. So, Barrie did London a solid by beating Owen Sound the week before, and that helped London clinch the division, but London didn't return in favor in North Bay on Sunday, so, it's just the way it goes. But, that Thursday win was a big one. And then, obviously, Saturday at home to Sudbury, another 5-2 win there as well. And again, a game that Barrie took control of early on, but it was a close game. I mean, as often it is between these two central rivals, and it was 2-1 entering the third. But Sudbury all game, they looked at it as a game that these two teams could meet in the first round, a potential first-round matchup. And I think the Wolves were clearly trying to send a message about what Barrie should expect. It was a lot more physical and a lot of pushing and shoving, but Brant Clark certainly got a lot of attention, as he's going to get as we head into the playoffs here. And Sudbury sent a message that they're going to be in his face all series if they end up meeting up.
Yeah, you said it well in your article that the Wolves were quite feisty. Did you? You kind of mentioned it right now, but yeah, you liked how Clark responded to that push by the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for Clark, he wants to, kind of show that he can take that. But more importantly for Barrie is that he stays on the ice. He's just been an impact player, I think, other than Maggio, the leading scorer in the Ontario Hockey League. If you take Ben Clark's numbers over a full season, he'd be second in league scoring this year, which is pretty impressive for a defenseman. And, obviously, his impact is when he's on the ice, and he logs a lot of minutes for Barrie back there. And for Sudbury, it's an advantage to try to get under his skin, try to get him off his game, be physical at every chance, and that includes, after the whistle as well, getting in his face, and that's what they did. And in an effort to try to get him off the ice, it worked a couple of times, but it's something that the Los Angeles Kings prospect is going to have to kind of turn a cheek to. Obviously, the importance of him is being on the ice for the club, and they need him to kind of stay away from that stuff.
So now coming up for Barrie, they have another chance to bank some wins. We record this prior to their Wednesday game against the Steelheads, so hopefully they got the victory, but they play the Owen Sound Attack on Friday and the Niagara Ice Dogs on Saturday. Gene, what are you looking for from the team this coming week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, even though they're 5 points behind North Bay with a game in hand, they're still trying to track them down here. We got 6 games to close out the year, and Barrie goes into Mississauga on Wednesday. And, Mississauga's always been a good rival for Barrie and so on. The Colts have, Mississauga's in a bit of a rebuilding phase here, and but a lot of young talent. So it's a game they certainly have to be careful of. The Owen Sound's always tough. That's the Friday, March 17th, and it's an untraditional night in the sense that Barrie's home nights are usually Thursday, but this year they're playing Friday, and that's to have a St. Paddy's Day evening game, and the Colts will be wearing their traditional green jerseys that they end up auctioning off. So a lot of fun there on that night with a lot of St. Paddy's Day themes going on, and then they close it out Saturday the week against Niagara, the Ice Dogs, which have been eliminated from the playoffs. And it's been a tough season for Niagara, the rebuilding, but again for Barrie, those are the games you got to be careful of a bit of a trap that you're maybe looking past them and that you expect to just kind of win by showing up. And if they want to track down North Bay at all, have any hope of it, they certainly have to win out the season here, the remainder of the regular season.
Well, hopefully, they get some wins, and if spectators this coming week or whatever, hopefully they can have a green beverage and enjoy some Colts.
Thanks, Will.
Some people make a big deal about how they help the community and help the world be a better place. Others do it quietly. That would be the case with Camphill Foundation Canada, which works with adults who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. Never heard of them? Neither had we, until our Ian McLennan sat down with Executive Director Kathy Downs.
You've got a location here in Simcoe County. For people who aren't familiar with the organization, just in a nutshell, what is your organization, the mandate, and, your goals?
Camphill Communities Ontario has been providing housing and social supports for adults and seniors with developmental disabilities for over 38 years in Simcoe County. We have several locations throughout the county. We have several group homes here in Barrie, and then we also have a 300-acre farm out in Essa Township, which also has a cluster of homes. It's a real community in Essa Township, and we have a market garden there. We have a wood shop. We have a working farm. It is a working farm. We also have pottery and day programs that run out of there, and a community center on site.
And when I was reading some of the articles, some of the people who are living on site in Essa Township, it's very phenomenal with the farming. That it's all hands on. They're running the place, so to speak.
Yes, we actually have both. We have beef cattle, we have 2 goats, and we have a lovely miniature donkey who joined us during COVID when things were shut down. We also have a maple syrup social enterprise there. It's incredible syrup, and it recently won 8th prize in the Amber division at the Royal Winter Fair. So nice. What a real testament to the work that's happening in social enterprise out at the farm. And it's really has a focus on social purpose.
Well, that's critical. And what age level in terms of the people that are under your care, for lack of a better word?
We have individuals we support in our day program as young as in their 30s, but really it ranges. We have we provide support for anybody who is somewhat aged out of the school system, providing day programs to adults anywhere over the age of 24 up into seniors. So we have about 5 or 6 seniors who live with us, and then we have 1 or 2 who attend our day programs as well. So it's a really huge area.
Too in Barrie,
we do. We have several group homes here in Barrie, and we're focusing on smaller group homes. So whereas maybe 20 years ago, there might have been up to 7 or 8 people living in a community group home, we are trying to get our numbers down to no more than 2 or 3. We do have some that have 5 right now, but our goal over the next 5 years is to lower those group homes and get people living in smaller group settings, which is something we learned during COVID, that people, as they age, like to live with fewer people and like to have a choice of where they live. So that's something that Camphill takes very seriously, is the choices of how individuals we support would like to spend their day and what kind of setting they'd like to live in, whether that be rural or urban.
How are you funded? You mentioned the ministry. Are there other sources of funding that you get support from the public or require from the public?
Yes, we rely heavily on community partnerships. We've just recently secured a partnership with the Barrie Construction Association, and we're really excited about that. That's to renovate one of our group homes, to create one of the first new beds we've had in 5 years. So there's a huge waiting list for group homes for individuals with developmental disabilities, and we'll be adding a new bed for the first time in 5 years. And that's because of the generosity of the donors and the donation of the Barrie Construction Association. So there's never enough homes, and housing is expensive. And many individuals who require support are ending up in homes like long-term care that aren't appropriate for them, and they don't receive the social outlets that they might
be
receive.
Regressive in terms of, it limits their ability and,
very
what they're
much
capable
so.
of.
Very much so. So a lot of these individuals end up living with their parents or relatives. They may be lucky enough to have a distant relative that takes them on if they've lost their parents. Because if you think about 23 years after you graduate high school, that puts someone in their mid-40s. I can't imagine living with my parents till my mid-40s. I've been out a lot longer than that. So we provide, Camphill provides day programming for those who are on a wait list and gives them the opportunity to kind of carve their own path and try out different things. We've been running business entrepreneurship programs, no different than other people through the past 2 years. We've had about 5 or 6 individuals we support start their own businesses through COVID.
I saw with one lady making, I think it was a purple cow, or tell me a little about that, because I thought there's a great success story.
Yes. So some of the individuals have gotten into, I think you're referring to Annette, who does a lot of felting. And these are Highland cows that she's felted. And she takes wool and she makes little cows out of them that mirror the cows that we have on the property. And they are adorable little creatures. And then we have another individual, her name's Terry, and she does a lot of crocheting and knitting. And she has an Etsy shop and a storefront on Etsy. And she's really good and very talented. She likes to make different blankets, sweaters for individuals. She takes special orders. And then we have other individuals wanting to start their own landscape company. So they have hopes and dreams, and we're doing a great job. We have some incredible staff that help these individuals find what it is they'd like to do with their day-to-day lives. And we have the generous support of many donors, but there's never enough. So at every dollar, we have really good cost per dollar raised. A lot of our funds go straight to the programs. We are making change, and we're part of what's coming next. So it's exciting, but we have so far to go.
If you'd like to help and want more information about the foundation and its work, log on to camphill.on.ca. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for tying it all together, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. Rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Facebook and Twitter at Barrie360 and on our website, Barrie360.com. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.